Good afternoon. The June 21st meeting of the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust will be in order. And the first item on the agenda is a resolution expressing appreciation to our retiring director, Marcia Slaughter. And I would ask the clerk to read the resolution.
Whereas the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust is a public trust created under Title 60 of the Oklahoma Statutes 1960. And the City of Oklahoma City is the sole beneficiary of the Water Trust. Since July 2001, Marcia Slaughter has served as General Manager of the Water Trust, demonstrating dedication in producing quality water to meet the current and future needs of the citizens of Oklahoma City, ensuring system resiliency and expanding capacity, including major upgrades to the Draper and Hefner water treatment plants. Whereas under Ms. Slaughter's leadership, the Water Trust has awarded Best of the Best for the best tasting water by the American Water Works Association in 2007 and 2013. Whereas under Ms. Slaughter's leadership, the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust long-term bond ratings were upgraded to the highest ratings possible by Standard & Poor's, which places the Water Trust in the top 5.5% and 3.2%, respectively, of water and wastewater utilities nationwide, thereby giving the Trust the lowest possible borrowing rate. Whereas Ms. Slaughter has been instrumental in developing the Water Conservation Program, the Safety Program, the Succession Plan, and Utilities University. Ms. Slaughter ensured the second Atoka pipeline was planned and is being implemented to procure a long-term water supply and carry Oklahoma City into the future. Now therefore be it resolved by the trustees of the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust that they do hereby gratefully recognize the contributions of Marcia Slaughter for her leadership, dedication, and guidance during her 15 years of loyal service to the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust.
We need a motion on the resolution.
I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Marcia, I have I have a copy of it here. I tell you, as I told you yesterday when we were talking about you leaving, I consider you a real treasure and to this operation, and you're certainly going to be missed.
Thank you so much. Oh dear. It's been a great pleasure to work for Oklahoma City. Thanks to the city manager and the trust for the opportunity. And I am looking forward to a great retirement. But thank you for the attention. It's great to take credit for Brett's work on conservation and finances, and Perry's work making certain that we meet permits, and everyone else's work for Tilly Engineering. But thank you.
Thank you. The next, any comments from any trustees in this regard? Now that I've said that, somebody better say
I'm saving mine for her retirement ceremony, whenever they...
All right. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the June 7th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the June 7th meeting. Voting, please. The minutes are approved. Next item is the consent docket.
Move the consent docket subject to individual consideration.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the consent docket. Are there matters to be discussed individually or comments from staff or anyone about any of them? Hearing none, voting please. Consent docket's approved. Next item is the concurrence docket. One item.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the concurrence docket. Comments or questions? Hearing none, voting please. Concurrence docket approved. Next item, item for individual consideration. The first item is the capital improvement plan.
Mr. Chairman and trustees, Sam Sinandi, our engineering manager, is here to tell us about the capital program and how it's changing. You'll recall that just recently we've approved the capital plan as it had been presented historically. We've made some changes in how we're prosecuting the work and want to make certain you know that that's impacted our schedule some. Go ahead, Sam.
All right. Chairman and trustees, this is the capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2017 to 2021. As with all of our capital improvement plans, our bottom line is trying to take care of our customers by providing a reliable service with the highest quality possible. The first part of the capital improvement plan is dealing with the water side of the ledger. What you see over here is a slide of our water distribution system and water treatment plants. We have about 3,800 miles of water distribution pipelines within the system, and we have 3 water treatment plants, Hefner, Oberholzer, and Draper Water Treatment Plant. And our expanse is wide. You know, Oklahoma City is a big city, and we go from one side to the other, from north and south and east and west. We carry the water long distances. The challenges that we have in the water distribution system and the water system is to want to make sure we have adequate pressure and flow everywhere we provide service. And our system is strong enough to recover from hiccups when they do occur, and also be in a situation where we can meet all of our increasing demand that comes our way through development and otherwise. The basis of all the capital improvement plans are based on the studies that we have finished recently and some in the past. The first one was a master plan that was done in 2003 and kind of upgraded by other work that we have done by studying the raw water supply system in 2009 and 2014. And also the study that we did in order to make the system a little bit more resilient is to connect the Hefner and the Draper system by a project that we call a system interconnection. And also we do a lot of in-house assessment of where we are with our system, where we have problems, so that we can deal with them. The capital improvement plan for the next 5 years is spread in the manner that you see up on there. It's close to about $988 million, roughly about $200 million a year. And as you see in 2019, 2020, 2021, that's where we ramp up on the construction of the second Atoka pipeline, as we'll get to here in a minute. To give you an overview, the capital plan essentially deals with 5 different categories of work. Neighborhood replacement of projects, water lines that are old and they have main breaks and stuff like that that needs to get replaced, and installing transmission mains, and adding to the water storage and pumping, upgrading some of those as well, and then water treatment plant improvements and dealing with the raw water supply projects that we have. This particular slide shows the major plant improvements and the pipelines and the pump station projects that we have going on within this capital plan. The bulk of the work will be done within the heart of Oklahoma City, the green lines that you see on the slides. And then also we're going to try to replace some of the old 72-inch pipeline that we have coming out of Draper, because it adds up a lot of resilience into our system when we have breaks. If you look at it by categories of work, there's about $584 million that deals with the raw water aspect of the capital plan. That's close to about 60% of the plan. And then another portion of it is about $142 million on the treatment side, and about $35 million in the storage facilities, and $135 on the transmission, among the other portions that are smaller in amount. The changes that we've made in the CIP from the previous, there's a little bit of shift on the second Atoka pipeline because of procuring of the pipe for the project. and allowing the detailed design to be completed in time, and then again start the construction by fiscal year 2019. And the other part of it is the completion of the interconnection projects between the two Hefner and Draper service areas. And another thing that we've done that's a shift is because of this stuff, we found out at Draper, the existing clear wells have a lot of structural problems. And we believe they're not going to last very long. They need to be replaced. So we brought in a couple of projects earlier, which is replacing the clear wells or adding new clear wells in lieu of the old ones. The neighborhood main projects as part of the CIP, we plan to replace about 10 miles a year, somewhere around $36 million. Water transmission mains, we talked a little bit about interconnect projects, and then we're also going to complete what we call a northwest extension from Hefner out to the west of the city, and then the replacement of the old 72-inch, somewhere around $136 million. Booster stations and pumping storage rounds up to about $63 million. For the next few slides, I'm going to try to explain the interconnect project because that's such an important part of our system. The idea is to, in a normal winter condition, water will be pumped out from Draper toward the north part of the town. The idea is to keep the water at Hefner and use that as a peaking plant during summertime. So most of the year, the idea is to turn down Hefner pumping and increase the Draper pumping to cover most of the city. And then provide water for the central part of the town through Overholser pump station that we're currently building. So that's the normal way of doing the business that we're trying to do. And in summer conditions, it's a little bit of change. We're still feeding most of the system out of Draper, but we're going to use Hefner treatment plant to meet the peak summer demand, going in the direction that are shown in kind of yellowish color. And then provide water to the central part of the town through Hefner contribution. The other scenario that we are very keenly interested in, we're trying to accomplish, is that when we have really plant outages, either at Hefner or Draper, we want to be able to support the whole system from one plant when the other one is out. And the scheme would look something like that. The yellow stuff is the contribution from Hefner when Draper is out, and the blue line is a contribution from Draper going out north. All of those movement of water is accomplished by 2 or 3 major pump stations that we're adding to the system. On the west side of the town is a pump station we call Pump Station 28 that is around Reno and Council Road, and another one on the east side of town around Northeast 36 and Bryant, I believe, in that vicinity. So this, hopefully when we have major breaks at one of the facilities or treatment plant is out, we can recover and provide service to everyone in town. The water treatment plants projects, what we have found out that we need to do a lot of work at Hefner plant and Draper. At Hefner, there's a lot of electrical improvement that needs to get done to make that a lot more reliable in terms of power that comes to the plant. We're going to improve the system for the ozone and add increased treatment flexibility. Right now, we cannot turn down the treatment facilities to smaller values like 5 or 10 MGD. The plant can do about 100 MGD now, but coming back to smaller output, we have to accomplish that a little bit differently. And also upgrade the lime system, which is pretty old. At Draper, we're going to upgrade the low-lift pump station and add additional piping, eliminate single points of failure in terms of delivering water from the treatment unit to clear wells, and then also add a couple of new clear wells. we're looking at about $143 million to accomplish all of that. As I said, the major part of the water CIP is the raw water supply. And as you can see, this is a slide where it shows the consultants that have been retained to complete the designs of various sections of the pipeline. There's 8 pipeline engineers and 1 system engineer that we have that works on the pump station and the system as a whole for the project. On the raw water supply again, there's 2 parts to it. One is the new Atoka pipeline that we're doing. We're working on the design, on the first phase of the design, and then we'll do the construction, and we've got to do the land acquisition as necessary if we need additional easement, and do with the environmental studies required for the construction of the second Atoka pipeline. We're also paying a lot of attention to the existing system. The existing system is very old. It's about almost 55, 60 years old. So a lot of the stuff needs to get changed to make it up to par. So surge protection is a major project that we have to do, and then replace the old steel tanks that have come to about to the end of their useful life. And also, during the past few rainfall events, we've noticed that the spillway at Atoka needs to get looked at. This is a very important project, and we're looking at that right now, and we hopefully that we can find good recommendation to modify or improve the capability of the spillway. We have attached a picture of this, the spillway chute that you see over there. If you pay attention, at the bottom of that picture, there's a man standing up there. If I can, it doesn't go there, but it's a huge structure that we've got to fix. So the engineer is working on that currently. All of those work is about $584 million, and that brings it to about $988.2 million. It's a very big CIP, and hopefully we'll have it all done by the time we have prescribed here. On the wastewater side, this slide shows all the major wastewater sewer sheds within Oklahoma City. The biggest one is the green one in the middle, is the North Canadian Basin. And then we have the Deep Fork Basin that pumps into it through Witcher Pump Station up north. And we've got 4 wastewater treatment plants, 1 down south, and 1 northeast part of town, and 2 up north, Deer Creek and Chisholm. And we have close to about 2,900 miles of sewer lines within the system. As in water, we have challenges with the wastewater system. We want to make sure we have sufficient capacity to collect the water and deliver it to the plant, and have sufficient capacity to treat the wastewater. So we look at ways of strengthening the system to accomplish that, and also deal with increasing regulation that comes our way, and meet with the increasing demand for development. The basis of all the CIP on the wastewater is just as in water, is the master plan that we completed in 2009, and the response we provided to EPA request in 2008, and the consent order that was issued to us by Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality in 2008, and other studies, I&I studies that we do to button up the system a little bit better. There's 5 categories of projects that we have in the CIP. Sewer main replacement, leaf lines, lift station improvements, and plant improvements, and another one that we have had recently in the CIP is the reuse improvements that we plan to do. An overview of it is somewhere around $285 million for the next 5 years. And in 2018, we're going to have to do a major improvement to the South Canadian treatment facilities there, and that's why we have a little bump in the money for that year. This slide shows where we have been with the collection improvements and the system improvements within the collection system. The green one shows the relief lines that we have recently built or in the process of completing, and the black lines and the red lines are the ones that we have slated for this 5-year CIP. And the pink one up north is the reuse project that we hope to accomplish, bring in highly treated effluent water from Deer Creek to Hefner Lake. And on the east side, we're trying to get rid of a small wastewater treatment plant at Dungee and convert it into a pump station. We hope that that will be accomplished this year. In terms of categories of contributions from all of this stuff, a major part of it goes to the treatment plants, about $119 million. And then another major portion of $77 million goes to the interceptors. And the reuse constitutes about 7 or 8% for this 5-year CIP, about $34 million. The challenges on this side is that due to results of a water quality study that was done by DEQ, the permit requirements have changed quite a bit for discharging into the North Canadian River, into the Canadian River. And that caused a higher estimate for the upgrade of the wastewater treatment plant. And because of that stuff, we shifted the reuse project for a couple of years so we can deal with that and actually accomplish some of the preparatory work that is required for the reuse project. And then also we have to do a lot of electrical upgrades at the plants. These are the stuff that we didn't have, so these are challenges we've got to deal with. On the sewer reconstruction, we're going to replace and rehab sanitary sewer lines. And another big project that we have is separation of the combined storm and sewer system at the stockyard, because that adversely affects the interceptors when we have wet weather flow. And additionally, we're going to try to do projects to control the inflows and the infiltration within the collection system, somewhere around $21, $22 million. Sewer capacity, we'll be working on 2 basins, North Canadian Basin and South Canadian, and constitutes about $77 million. And they're shown here, as I spoke about them earlier. These are the red and the black lines shown on slide here. We're also going to be visiting the lift stations that we have. Some are very old that need to be maintained better and upgraded to become more reliable facilities, about $10 million. Wastewater treatment plant, this is the major one, the South Canadian, that requires an upgrade. And a lot of the stuff at the old one, like the SPR system that it is, they're very old that they need to get changed. But because of the new requirements on the discharge requirements, we have to change the way the treatment is done. So
That's a key point, Sam, because the South Canadian River has very limited assimilation to take waste, and you've got more Norman and then South Canadian plant in there. So because of that, the new discharge permits are
stringent, quite
really stringent.
Almost to water quality standards. In fact, that's what they keep calling them. The water is going to be extremely.
Yeah, and they've always been tight standards, but they're going to be, you know, and so you're more flow and tighter standards. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And so what we had down there was it was a sequential batch reactor,
Right.
which was a technology that you could get to the limits that you had before, but it can't get you to the new limits. And so the fact that the plant's 30-some years old and is a technology that really doesn't get you to these higher level treatment standards that are now required by the 208 study that was done for the wastewater allocation on the South Canadian River.
Yes, and because reuse standards for the state are not fully defined yet, so that we can well evaluate the economics, the plan is to delay construction but go forward with some testing so that we can validate for ourselves whether that works well for Oklahoma City. And once we have the standards, then we'll be able to look at what what the cost is, the value of making that investment.
Yeah. Currently, the estimated cost is somewhere around $60 million to do this upgrade. So we're going to do everything we can to do this in the most judicious way. Other improvements that we have at the plants, electrical upgrades and that we've got to do at all the plants. And then at Chisholm Creek, we've got to put new bar screen and add a little bit more to the disinfection that needs to be done. Some more improvements at Deer Creek, and another big project that we are undertaking, studying at this time, is the wet weather flow evaluation. When we have wet weather, there's a lot of flow that's generated in the system. And so we want to make sure that we can look and see what the options are, whether you should store that flow or whether you should have some kind of a treatment system that allows you to process that at a lot faster and quicker and with a lot less cost. So all of that work is somewhere around $120 million. Reuse improvement, as I said, we've pushed it a couple of years, mostly is because we want to do a lot of sampling so we can trace the water quality that comes into from the river to the lake, and also trace and do some piloting to see what kind of treatment we have to employ to get to these new limits that has been established. So this will hopefully improve when it's implemented. It can increase our reliability of water supply in the North Canadian system, the water that goes to the Hefner plant for processing. So this is a very important project in so many respects. But we have somewhere close to about $34 million to accomplish some of that stuff within this 5-year plan. So it totals up to about $285.7 million. And if you put both of those plans together, water and wastewater, you're looking at $1.27 billion. Big plan. So that kind of ends the presentation. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Well, I think the big question is, that's a lot of money, how are we going to pay for it? And the fact of the matter is, well, Marcia, you can answer that, or Brett can answer that.
So we're working with the financial analysts to help us figure that out. We're bringing some options this fall, or a little later than fall, and talk to you again about how we fit available funds with the capital program.
And I believe we have one more rate increase in the present rate increases that'll go into effect
In October.
in this October. And of course, we've gone with the stair-step rates, and we want to evaluate to see how that's worked out, and we want to continue it, we want to add another step, increase the delta on the steps. There'll be a lot of discussion as we go forward.
So staff's working with the cost of service contractor now to define scope and get things done.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you. Thank you. We need a resolution on the approval of the capital improvement plan.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Voting, please. Plan's approved. Next item, I believe, require an executive session. Is that right? Have a motion to move it to executive session.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second to move it to executive section. We'll do that. Next item is item from trustees. Any comments from trustees? Oh, there's two. Oh, excuse me. There are two executive sessions. Yes. We need executive session on both of them.
We don't have any new revelations on the executive session B. We'd be happy to remind you of where our issues are and what we're working on. But we do need an executive session on C. So B would be at your pleasure, but C we do need to speak on.
Well, we already voted on B. Yes. So we can just deal with it. We need a motion on B, on C.
So moved.
Second. A motion and a second to hold executive session on item C. All voting, please. We have executive session on that also. Next item is items from trustees. I would say I took a little tour of the facility at Draper yesterday, and it was, the first couple hours were great. Second hour, couple hours were hot, and I didn't have a hat. It was on the lake, but it was a worthwhile trip. Anyone that hasn't been out 240 to look south at the Vista needs to do it. It looks really great, looks really, really nice. The road around the north is progressing well, and it's going to be really nice. And the report we got back from the wildlife people were that while they're canceling some projects like the one that we have here and that we have at Lake Atoka, that they would rank ours on a scale of 1 to 10 at about an 8, and so they're going to continue to do the plantings and maintain that, which is a lot of really positives for both the appearance of the lake and the water quality also. So that was good. Marcia and I endured it with me. Or I endured it with her, one way or the other. It's a great boat. The city's got a great little boat. That's a nice little boat, but
It needs a top, but
it needs. It needed a top, or I need a big hat. But anyway, are there next items to the general manager reports? There are several reports to be received. Are there comments on any of those?
No, sir. Given the time, I think I'll forego comments. We provided just some information about lead in drinking water that I would encourage you to just take a quick look at. We are following that issue very closely. That's become, of course, a major issue among water utilities after continuing news about Flint, Michigan. We aren't there. We don't have those issues, but we are paying very close attention and expecting some regulatory changes out of that experience in Flint.
Any comments or questions on the staff reports, managers' reports? Are there citizens to be heard? Hearing none, we will go to executive session and return.
Shabba